Today we are starting something brand new. This is kind of a news time reboot for the fans who have been watching my videos for a long time. But today we're starting a new series. Every single Friday we are going to be doing a news around the league. Kind of talking about everything that has gone on around the National Hockey League that isn't like a big coaching firing, a big trade. If there was one of those things or like a big signing, of course I would cover that in its own separate video. But these are kind of things that have happened around the NHL this past week that I thought were very interesting and that are worth talking about. So, let's just get straight into it here because I feel like this may be a little bit of a longer one since it's our first one. I want to start off with two trades around the NHL that have occurred this past week. Starting off with one involving the Detroit Red Wings and the Utah Hockey Club, where the Red Wings acquired a 2025 third-round pick, which belonged to the New York Rangers, and in exchange, the Utah Hockey Club acquired Olli Maatta, who is on his final year of a $3 million contract, which expires at the end of 2025, and he has 0 points in 7 games played with the Red Wings so far this season. Now, we know why this move was made. We know exactly why this move was made, because Utah is so injury depleted on their blue line. They are down Marino, they are down Dursey, they are down a few other players as well. And they lose one more player on that blue line, they are just completely decimated. So they had to find a way to get another defenseman there. And Olli Maatta's put up solid defensive numbers for a while with the Red Wings and wasn't, even though like some people look at the Red Wings and say, oh, their blue line's not that good, he was one of those guys who probably was on the better end of some of those players on that blue line. So Utah getting him, I think, is a very good pickup. And again, you give up a third-round pick, which is good for Detroit. It's first off, it's a little bit of an overpay for someone like Maatta. You would think he'd go for like a fourth or something like that. But you look at Utah, first off, they're desperate. Second, they have so many draft picks. Like, so many. It is actually astronomical how many picks this team has. And when you have that many picks, you can make a move like this. You can. So overall, I think that it's a good trade for both teams. I think both teams win this bargain overall. Now you move into the other one that happened, and it's another defenseman that's getting moved. Well, actually, I would actually say two defensemen that are getting moved. And it's starting to become a real trend for, the defensive market. It seems like we're going to see a lot of defensemen get moved around, and it's going to be kind of scarce pickings for a lot of teams trying to find defenders. So the San Jose Sharks and the Toronto Maple Leafs made a deal where the Sharks acquired Timothy Liljegren, who has a 2-year contract that ends in 2026. It's worth $3 million. He has no points in 1 game played so far this year with the Maple Leafs. In exchange, the Maple Leafs acquired defenseman Matt Benning, who is actually has 2 years left at $1.25 million, which ends in 2026. He has 0 points in 7 games played, with the San Jose Sharks. Can't even read my own handwriting. And then Maple Leafs also acquired a conditional 2025 third and a conditional 2026 sixth. So, again, it's a good deal for both teams as well here. You see Timothy Liljegren, he was a highly touted player at one point. He just hasn't seemingly been able to kind of get off the ground in Toronto. Maybe going somewhere like San Jose could really benefit him and benefit his career overall. That's really the only thing that I can really think of there, to be honest with you guys. I think Liljegren is a good player, but again, he's not in the rotation. It's not worth having $3 million up in the press box. So you want to go out and trade him and maybe get another depth defender, and they did. They got Matt Benning, who is at best a 7th defenseman on a team like Toronto. He was getting ice time with San Jose, but again, San Jose is not very good. So that plays a big factor there. But seeing, Benning going to a team like Toronto, he's going to fit in that 7th D role better than Liljegren will, especially since he's getting paid, I think, about 1.25 less than him. So it works out. And then you get your conditional 2025 third, which makes sense because Utah traded a third for Maatta. And then you also get a 6th in there too. So that's a pretty cool perk as well. So good on Tree Living for moving the cap, getting some good draft pick depth options, and getting somebody like Matt Benning who will help out with the depth too. And it really does free up Toronto's cap space too, because their cap space was not terrific either. Now, they did make a signing as well. That's why I'm wearing Toronto for this first ever edition of these videos. Jake McCabe signed a 5-year, $5.41 million deal. Little correction to that last clip. It's actually a $4.51 million deal. I looked at that and I'm like, I don't think that's right. So yeah, McCabe signed a $4.51 million deal. So far this year, he has 4 assists in 11 games played. He actually has deferred money in that contract. Now, it's not like the Seth Jarvis one, which was in the summer, where he had like a 9th year where he was getting paid. In this term, he is getting paid money between the 2nd and the 3rd year of that contract. And by the way, this deal does start in 2024, 2020, or starts in 2025, 2026. So you got McCabe on a lower term deal than you get him on this 5-year contract. Again, I think it's a good signing. I think McCabe fits in well as a good defender. They were talking about extensions for a while. So it's good on Tree Living for getting something like this done relatively early. And man, does he love giving out big money to old players. He loves doing that, doesn't he? But I like the deal overall. I think it's a solid lockup for somebody like McCabe, who has bounced around the league a little bit. He's been with Buffalo, was with Toronto, or was with Chicago, then Toronto, and now he's going to get a little bit of a permanent home here, likely for the rest of his career. Maybe not at the end of that, but regardless, it's good that you get him locked up to a deal like this. Now, the other signing that sparked my eye was with the St. Louis Blues, where they signed Alexei Toropchenko to a 1-year, $1.7 million deal. Toropchenko has 1 assist in 9 games played so far with the Blues, and that deal will begin in 2025-26. So, good lockup. I mean, Toropchenko's a good bottom 6 player. I don't think he's really anything more than that, hence him getting paid the money he is. But for somebody like him, getting paid over $1 million is great. You can't help but say that. It's great. So those were the signings that kind of struck my eye. We're going to move into a suspension now. So Matt Steinberg was suspended 2 games for charging on Eric Chernak in, I believe, Wednesday's game against Tampa. Now, this hit definitely probably should be a 2-game suspension. Seems like the punishment fits the crime very well. It just sucks because now Colorado's even more in such a deficit, and it doesn't help whatsoever with one of their guys being suspended. Steinberg's not like a huge deal. He was playing 4th-line center for them against Tampa, but still, you want your depth. And losing somebody like that for 2 games, chances are Steinberg, when everyone comes back from injury, he probably won't be in the lineup. Duh. But regardless, other news involving Colorado is with injuries. And there's a lot of injuries to talk about here, not just with the Avalanche. Ross Colton is out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot. And this makes things even less ideal for Colorado because Colton was on a good pace. Colton was playing really well with the injuries that Colorado had already. And losing Colton now, this team is going to have one hell of a climb when everyone comes back. And if they want to make the playoffs. Because, I mean, again, I think they will. They have McKinnon. They have Makar. They're playing really good right now. But again, you see these injuries they have. Eventually, they're just going to build up too much to where you're gonna be in a really rough spot. But thankfully, they haven't lost any big players, big impact players like Rantanen or McKinnon in that way. I know they've lost big impact top 6 forwards. I'm not saying that that's, a good thing, but at least they haven't lost someone like McKinnon or Rantanen here, at least so far. But hopefully, you hope to not see that. Connor McDavid of the Oilers is also out on a lower body injury. He will miss the next couple of weeks. However, they say that it is nothing serious. So I'm assuming couple of weeks means 2 to 3. I saw some reports saying that number, and then I also saw some reports saying that it's a couple of weeks. But I'm going to assume it's 2 to 3 weeks. So he'll miss the majority of November, which does stink if you're the Oilers. But we saw last night against the Predators, Leon Draisaitl plays at a different level. He's a really good player, especially when McDavid's not even in the lineup, which is pretty weird. But overall, you see how he's played so far. I think you just got to be a little bit happy with that at the very least. But yeah, losing McDavid, not ideal whatsoever. The best player on your team, you hate to see it. Something that I thought I put in between other injuries here. It's not an injury, but it's an interesting piece of news this past week. Kevin Fiala was scratched from Wednesday's game against the Vegas Golden Knights by the LA Kings because he missed a team meeting. Now, Fiala's been in the league for a long time, so we should not be missing team meetings by now, but I think this was mainly done to set an example for the kids. There's a lot of young players here in LA, like Byfield, Laferriere, Clark, the list goes on and on. They have a lot of young guys there. And a vet like Fiala, who's been there for, 3 years now at this point? 2 years? It's been a while already. But regardless, seeing someone like him missing a meeting, it sets a good example for the kids. Don't miss a meeting or you're going to be out of the lineup. So, it's the right move by Hiller and the Kings. It just sucks for Fiala because he misses a game out of his season here this year. Other injuries that I saw while writing these pieces, Curtis Lazar underwent left knee procedure and is out indefinitely, and Frederik Andersen is week to week with a lower body injury. So, Lazar, bad news for the Devils, is a depth piece they'll definitely miss, and Andersen was looking really good for Carolina in net, and seeing him go is going to be really unfortunate, but they have Kochetkov. I think they will be okay, just a matter of, is Kochetkov going to come in and play well, is the biggest question there. So, moving on from that to the rumor mill. And the rumor mill is a new thing that we're doing. In news times, I would just do news and not rumors, and I would just make like a rumor time back in the day when I had time to make like 4 videos a day, which if you know, it was COVID. But now I'm going to put this segment towards the end of all of our news time videos that we make now. And I have 4 pieces of news here 4 pieces of rumors that I was scouring the internet and thought were interesting. So we'll start off with this one, and it involves Utah and Columbus. So apparently, we saw Utah again. They went out and got Mata, as we talked about at the beginning of the video. Apparently, they are looking at Ivan Provorov of the Columbus Blue Jackets and trying to see if, maybe with these or maybe with these injuries they have, maybe they can make a trade. This is sources per Pierre LeBrun, by the way, so it's not something that I'm making up, whether you think that's credible or not. But I think that it's interesting because, again, Utah has so many injuries on that blue line. Makes a ton of sense for them to be at least considering options. Maybe they don't go out and get Provorov, but it's at least a good thing to maybe go out and consider your options. You can't help but be happy about that. Also, the Oilers are looking for defensive help. Tell me where you've heard that before, per Darren Dreger. So I am not surprised about that either. Again, you see that left side. It's so weak. It might be the right side, but you see that defense from the second pairing down. It is just so weak. And you can tell that the Oilers have struggled. And I think a big part of that is their defense not being up to par with other places on their roster. So again, that I look at and say, yeah, of course they're going to want defensive help. So that rumor is not a rumor. It's no surprise there. I think we're going to see something soon. And I think that with seeing Mata and Liljegren get moved, I think there might be some pressure on the Oilers to maybe go out and make a move. It's possible. It definitely is possible. Now, a matter of who that could be. Could it be Ivan Provorov? Could it be someone like Rasmus Andersson in Calgary? Could it be like David Savard, who I saw, being poked around in rumors recently? I think there's a good chance they go out and get somebody like that. Maybe not somebody that's that expensive. Maybe a cheaper option. But again, cheap options on the blue line are pretty hard to come by. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I don't know. They're definitely looking for defensive help. That should not surprise anyone at all. A few things here from David Pagnotta. Pagnotta's been discredited a lot in the past, but I'm going to go with his rumors here now. The Anaheim Ducks are gauging the trade market on Frank Vatrano, Cam Fowler, and John Gibson. Now, that news there really should not surprise anyone because, you look at Anaheim, they're not a good team. They're just managing the trade market on some of these players. Fowler, we saw rumors of him maybe leaving before even training camp even started back in September. Haven't heard anything since, but it seems like there might be something happening there come the trade deadline. And again, the Oilers, there's an option right there for you. Vatrano, a little surprising. I thought he wanted to be a part of the long-term plans. I think maybe if they get a deal that is the right fit, they might move him, but I thought he might be a part of the long-term plans because I thought he looked good, but we'll see. And then John Gibson, again, there have been talks that nobody wants that contract. Nobody wants him. It's there. He's there. His option is for sure there. So we'll see what happens there with those guys with Anaheim. But the last thing that I want to wrap up with before we get into a lawsuit that was filed, Mikko Rantanen, per David Pagnotta, apparently there is an argument, and this isn't really a rumor, but the argument is there for a potential contract to Rantanen that is worth more than McKinnon. Now, McKinnon, keep in mind, I think is getting paid $12.5 off of the top of my head right now. He was the highest paid player in the NHL 2 seasons ago when he signed that deal in 2022. And I think, listen, 12.5 probably means $13 million for Rantanen unless they want to do like a 12.75. But $13 million for someone like Rantanen and McKinnon is something I don't really know if I can buy. I could see a $11 million contract. I could see that. I could see maybe 12 as well. But again, like, I don't know if I could see him getting paid more than McKinnon. I don't think he's better than McKinnon. Like, that's your biggest qualm. Like, you got to ask the question, like, well, if you want to get paid more than McKinnon, are you better than McKinnon? Rantanen would probably say yes, because when McKinnon isn't in the lineup, when McKinnon is, struggling or he's injured, who has carried this team? Me. That being Rantanen. But again, like, I see the argument. I don't believe it, though. I don't, because I think that, you got to look at terms that I understand because the salary cap's going up, but you need to look in terms of McKinnon. Like, is he better than McKinnon? That's the big question. I don't think he is. I think he's a very good, very talented player. Probably worth $11, maybe even $12 million, but he's not better than McKinnon. Simply being put. The last piece of news here that I want to wrap up with is actually a lawsuit from Alex Formenton. You might remember that name. He used to play for the Ottawa Senators. Does not anymore. He's suing his former agent for $20.5 million. So I'll read the report here. It's from Rick Westhead. It's actually from Puck Report NHL on Instagram, but I'm going to read off what exactly all it says. So, former Sens forward Alex Formenton has filed a $20.5 million lawsuit against Newport Sports and his former agent Wade Arnott, alleging negligence, breach of contract, and breach of fiduciary duty. I suck at reading, okay? Formenton claims he suffered income loss for the 2022-23 and 23-24 NHL seasons, plus future income arising from lost playing time in the NHL because of Arnott and Newport. Their services were done negligently, carelessly, and unskillfully. The lawsuit alleges the agent wrongfully held out with the Sens player for a new contract and not accurately advised the player of his options when it comes to extending/accepting a $787.5 qualifying offer and then negotiating a new third contract with the team. Formenton said, quote, Wade's advice was wrong. Sens did not propose or agree to a new contract with Alex prior to December 1st, 2022. And accordingly, Alex was ineligible to play for the remainder of the 2022-23 season. But in December of 2022, Formenton agreed to a $125K contract with Ambi Piotta in Switzerland and asked for an NHL opt-out clause in the deal. At no time during negotiations did Wade advise Alex of the consequences and repercussions of transferring a European team and the impact this may have on a continued career in the NHL. And again, Formenton is suing for $20 million in damages and an additional $500,000 in punitive damages. So this is an instance of, from what I can tell, it's an instance of an agent not telling players things, an agent trying to, maybe being greedy. And I think that he has a fair ground here, to be honest with you. And I am somebody who is not experienced in this. I am somebody who doesn't know. But reading from what I can tell so far, seemingly it does sound like he has some ground to sue here because apparently he did not advise him of an option of a QO, a qualifying offer. So again, I see the argument that is there for a possible lawsuit. So it makes a ton of sense that Formenton's doing this. Again, I'll have more thoughts when it develops, but something that I thought was very interesting to point out. But regardless, that'll do it for this week's News of the Week around the league. I would call it news time, and I'll call it News Around the Week. News Around the League. I don't know. I'll come up with a good name. But regardless, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below on the things that we talked about. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe down below. I really appreciate it. We're getting closer and closer to 3,000 subscribers, so I really would appreciate it. But anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.